Hello, welcome back to Sextras.
Where we talk about sex and all the extras.
I'm Honey and I'm an Aquarius.
I'm Maria and I'm a Taurus.
Oh my god.
Let us know if we're stereotypical Tauruses and Aquarius.
In the comments below. Except there are no comments.
Yeah, but you can leave us reviews on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser, so make sure you do that and tell all your friends to listen and leave reviews.
And
anyway,
make sure you subscribe so you get to hear our amazingly fun facts every single week. It's the highlight of the episode and you can't deny it.
Of course, how else will you get to know us?
Our fun facts are just so interesting. We're gonna have to start coming up with like other people's facts just so they're more fun because we're just running out. We're really running out. Okay, well, this week we are talking about long distance relationships.
Woohoo!
And we're going to play a little game of how far is too far. We asked you guys what some of the ridiculous things you have done for love are, or the furthest you have gone for love or for a shag. And we're going to tell you what we think about if it's too far or not far enough or just right.
So, first one. Snuck in through the window for a shag.
Classic.
Yeah. Nah, you're good. Not too far.
Not far
But
enough.
I mean, not far enough. Depends how high the window is, you know.
Yeah, was it like first floor or was it third floor, you know?
Yeah. Because then I guess, like, yeah, good job, you know. You went far enough. Yeah, but I mean, would I do it? I would.
I don't really like climbing.
Neither do I.
Okay,
I'm not
well,
very skilled.
yeah, I feel like this is good. You're good. Okay. Next one, traveled halfway across the world. Cute. This is very far enough. Definitely
Yeah.
far enough.
I mean, would I do it? I guess I would.
I mean, yeah, I would do
I
this. I would definitely do this.
Oh, would you? Would you definitely do this, honey?
Except I can't because Trump fucked it up for me, so cute.
Well, I mean,
Love
more
that man.
COVID fucked it up for you.
I mean, yeah, COVID fucked it up for me, but like, why is the travel ban still in place? He's actually stupid. He just put the travel ban and he was like, oh, that was enough to stop COVID. But it's not. Not far enough, Trump.
Okay. Snuck out of a hotel on a school trip in year 10 to meet some sexy Italian boys and ruined my ankle jumping out the window.
I feel like anything that involves injury is far enough. And windows.
I mean, I think I'm a bit scared of the jumping out the window. Like, how high was the window?
Yeah, why are you jumping? Like, be careful.
Don't risk your life for
ankle
sex,
up,
sweetie.
you know?
Especially if you're in year 10. Like, it's not even gonna be good.
Some people are really into that, though. Like, they love the adrenaline, they love the chase. It's all part of the experience. Got a guy's rehearsal call sheet for a play he was in so we could casually run into each other. I mean, I feel like this is quite like regular kind of creepy gal things.
I remember when I really liked this girl at school, and I was like trying to find out all of her lessons so I could do like a timetable of all her lessons and where she was at like all day.
Yeah, I feel like to find out where someone is, you do just have to be a bit creepy, but it's not like bad intentioned or anything, so I feel like it's fine. Like, it's not too far, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's so
But then
funny.
I think it depends what you do when you run into each other that makes it too far, you know?
It's just about creating opportunities for yourself.
Yeah,
you
true.
know? Giving yourself a shot at shooting.
You're just being crafty.
Someone else said sucked someone's toes.
Delicious. I mean, it depends
Embrace
how much
your
you dislike feet.
fetishes.
I feel like this depends on the person. I really don't dislike feet that much, so...
I mean, I would kind of want to know the situation. If it's like someone has a foot fetish and the only way that they would fuck you is if you involve their feet in it too. I mean, that's a bit
I feel
far.
like no one's out there
Like,
being
that's
like,
kind of like
I'll
shoving your
only
kinks.
sleep with you if you do my kink. You know? But maybe they are.
Snuck out of my house and taken my doorknob off so no one could get into my room. That's like, even sneaking out of the house to me is like taking a little, like, you know, taking that risk. You're already like putting yourself on the line just for a shag.
Yeah.
But like this is kind of like going the next level. Like it's a lot smarter. Take the doorknob off, no one can come in. But I mean, it's like commitment. You're really like going for it.
It's risky
you know?
as fuck. I've never snuck out of the house. But yeah, I can't relate basically. So
Yeah.
for me, this is like, I do get if you have strict parents, it's kind of a big thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's clever to take the doorknob off. Here's some tips
Yeah.
and tricks.
Okay, so you think this is too far?
No, I don't think it's too far.
Okay. Someone else said, paid over £50 for Ubers to shag people an hour and a half away from my house. I mean, yeah. Was it £50 there and back? Like, that's ridiculous. £50 both ways, even that is a lot, you know? Like £25 both ways.
Yeah, even that is a lot.
Or maybe like £20 one way, £30 the other. With Serge.
Or it could be
Or 10 and 40. Or 5 and 45.
I think it's too far. I think going an hour and a half away is too far.
Yeah, an hour and a half
It's
is
so
just
far, like-
ridiculous.
Find someone closer. I mean, says you that goes like to the other side of the world for a shag.
I mean, I didn't go there for a shag. I went there for my study abroad. What do you mean?
Actually, it says to me that I went to Paris for like 3 days
Yeah.
just because I couldn't hack
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Says you. But, I mean, I feel like if it's last resort, then yeah, fine. Like, if you have no one else to shag. But if you have other options, don't be going an hour and a half. And there's always other options. You just have to find them.
Yeah, I mean, like, have I done it? I probably have. But would I do it again? No. I mean, would I? Probably yes. But like,
I mean, no, I would never go to
Would I
the other
recommend
side
it?
of London for a shag. Like, that's just so far. It's so far.
I feel like I
Actually,
would.
no, I have
like,
done that. I'm completely lying.
yeah, but exactly. Desperate times call for desperate
I was thinking, would I go
meshes,
all the way
like-
to, like, East London for a shag? And no, but I've been to North London, so maybe that's just as far. But you know, Hampstead is, like, 10 miles. So that's kind of far.
Yeah, just
Either way, it's
too
too
far.
far.
Anyway. Gone to a trap house of a drug dealer and shagged in the disgusting bathroom or in front of some random sleeping guy.
I mean, everything about this is too far. The trap house, the drug dealer, the disgusting bathroom, and in front of someone. I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. I think I feel like I would just feel unsafe. I'm not saying that all drug dealers are like bad people, because I'm sure they're not. But I just feel like I would feel scared.
Fair.
But I'm scared of everything. So.
I thought you were scared of nothing.
Yeah, I'm not scared of like spiders and things like that, but like I am scared of like walking home at night
Yeah, that's fair. But what girl isn't scared of walking
So
home at night? No one.
yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, I'm scared of things like getting kidnapped and raped and killed and like those kinds of things. But I'm not really scared of like spiders or the dark.
Yeah,
You know,
okay, fair. But I think those are reasonable things.
more fun facts for
Yeah,
you
we're
guys.
just really bashing them out today. You're so lucky. Okay, so yeah, too far, I think, is the conclusion. Someone else said, gotten into a stranger's car when he asked for my number.
Too
Yeah,
far.
too far. Just don't put yourself in
Don't get
unsafe
into strangers'
situations,
cars.
you know? It's not a good idea.
Cheated on someone.
This is an interesting start.
Deep. Yeah, deep. I mean, I guess like that is like doing something dumb for a shag.
True.
Like,
You're putting
do you
your
know what I mean?
relationship on the line. This is heavy shit. Yeah, too far. There's
Yeah,
no case where this could
definitely
be
too far.
not far enough. Except there are those people that are like, you don't own the person you're in a relationship with. Like, I don't know. I think we should do an episode on cheating
Yeah, but if you...
and discuss this in greater detail.
Yeah, no, I think we definitely should do an episode on cheating. And also, I was just going to say, what if they meant like, okay, what if it's cheated on someone, but they did it for love? Not
Yeah,
for a
that's
shag.
interesting.
So they cheated, but like it's because like they were falling for someone else. But then again, like you don't have
Yeah,
to
true.
cheat. You still
You
don't
just
have
don't
to
have to.
cheat. It is just too far.
I mean, but also people are
But still.
imperfect.
Anyway.
So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that it's like the worst thing, as in like it is pretty bad, but people make mistakes and not everyone's perfect, and like people get carried
Yeah.
away and shit like that. I understand that, but anyway, we can do a whole episode on cheating. But yeah, too far.
Someone else said, went to church every Sunday for a girl. This is ridiculous. Like, that is a lot. Ridiculous. I love how this is the one I felt most strongly about out of all of them. Absolutely no.
I mean, I feel like I wouldn't do it, but I don't think it's too far, because I think that if you're someone that doesn't have a strong stance on religion, I feel like we have kind of a strong stance, and like we're not against religion, but like we're just not really the kind of people that would be interested in people that took religion really seriously.
I just
because it just wouldn't be a compatible like we just wouldn't,
like, regardless of if it's a church or like any religion, like I just don't think I could overlook that fundamental difference. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
But then there's people that are really religious that like they wouldn't be with someone that wouldn't take part in their faith, which I also understand, but it's just like not the kind of person I would ever date, and I'm sure they wouldn't want to date me. So I mean, like, kudos to this person, but I don't know, remember when he came to church with my family?
Yeah, I was gonna say, literally the only time I've ever been to church is with your family. Ever. I did that for you.
You did it for me.
Yeah. You should feel
You did
so
it for
blessed
me.
and honoured. I just love you so much that I went to church with you.
I do feel blessed.
It was such a surreal experience. We weren't even, like, we had just become friends as well. Like, it wasn't like...
Yeah, we weren't that close.
Yeah, and I literally had met your family maybe like twice, and I was like, what is happening?
Why did you come? You should have.
I know, I could have
not
just
come.
left. I don't know why I didn't just leave. I don't know, to be honest, but yeah. But actually, in Sex and the City, the very factual TV show,
Oh yeah.
Charlotte
yeah.
goes to church for Trey, and then look how that turned out. No, it's not church. Is it synagogue? No, it's church. It's Presbyterian. Or she is Presbyterian and he's something else. Anyway, either way, she goes to church for him. And then it all goes to shit because then he, like, takes baths in the same room as his mum, who's called Bunny, which is a sick name. But it's just weird as fuck. So yeah, I think everyone should take Sex and the City's advice and not do this.
Yeah, I wouldn't, like, pick up like, I don't know, I wouldn't want to like take part in a like in someone else's faith. I don't think I could date someone that's super religious. I think I could date someone that's religious and like even that practices it, but as long as they don't really care about the way I live my life, like they don't think less of me or anything like that, or like it's not like basically the main part of their life, because I couldn't.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, maybe it's kind of
because
hypocritical,
we wouldn't see eye to eye.
Because like there are things that I do feel really strongly about, like politics, that I do like push on my boyfriend, but I mean, is that different?
No, but I think that pushing things on people isn't like necessary. The thing is, like, I wouldn't want to date someone that's pushing religion on me. I just wouldn't even put myself in that position, because I just don't, like, it's not interesting. Whereas like politics or something like that, it's kind of different. Like,
yeah, it does affect your day-to-day life. Like, it affects everything to do with your life.
So does religion, though. Like, if you're really religious.
Yeah, but I think,
or like even if you're slightly religious, like faith is everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
No, I completely get what you mean, but I mean, politics affects like every single aspect of your life. Like, it affects the schools you can go to, the food you can buy, your protection in the world, like all of those kinds of things. Whereas I do completely get that people's lives are like wrapped around religion, but I feel like it is very much a personal choice and a personal belief, rather. I'm not trying to like invalidate that people believe in God and people really think that like God is real, but I mean, maybe I'm just digging myself into a hole, but I think you can't ignore the fact that politics has an impact on your life. Even if you're one of those people that says, oh, politics doesn't affect me, you're just lying, because it does.
I think it's just about like what you think is important. You want to date someone that doesn't care about politics and that like you couldn't talk about it with, and someone that is really religious probably wouldn't want to date you because you don't care about religion.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's just about like what your priorities and their priorities are. So I don't know, I don't think it's too far, but I think you do.
I think it's quite far. It's not the most far, but I can understand why someone would do it, but personally this is too far for me.
Fair enough. Gone to complete strangers' houses whose names I don't even know.
I mean, yeah, isn't this kind of what one night stands are?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's too far, but like when you kind of start to think about it, like it is a bit dark.
Yeah, I mean, you hear so many horror stories.
Like, it sounds kind of dangerous.
Like, you should probably find out their name just in case something bad happens, you know? It's kind of a safety net.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think this is too far. Just be safe. Someone else said, got into fights with my friends. Yeah, can relate to this. I mean, I feel like
I don't think
it's too far either. Like, sometimes your friend doesn't get on with your partner and that's okay, and maybe they disagree with certain aspects, and I feel like no one should be digging too far into something that isn't their business unless they're really just looking out for you. So yeah, I
mean, I feel like if you're fighting with your friends like for love, I feel like you're fighting for your relationship and then you're fighting for your friendships. If you get into a fight, it's like, it's because like if it's a constant thing, do you know what I mean? It just like shows that you care. But yeah, I think that it can be really bad if, like, let's say it's like a problem of it's either your relationship or your friends, because it's so fundamentally like it's causing so much tension and so many problems and all of this stuff, and it's different. But yeah, I don't think it's too far. You can listen to our episode on this, You Gotta Get With My Friends, and hear more about our thoughts on mixing friendships and relationships. Next one. Flew 6,000 kilometers away.
Yeah. No.
Is this for a shag?
For
Is
a shag. For love? Oh my god.
For a shag, it's like a little bit more.
Unless you're like super rich and you don't care about the planet.
For love, I feel like it's not. Yeah, it's fine. It's not fine. Too far.
Someone asked, does saying you love them count? This person's damaged.
No, because it's like You said you love them for a shag.
Oh, fuck. I mean, yeah, that also makes them damaged. Like, make them fucked up.
That's so deep. That's so deep. Or if it's like you say you love them for love, that's kind of sad. That one's kind of sad because then it's like, oh, like, you don't, I don't know. Both are like manipulative and both are kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, don't tell someone you love them just because you want to shag them. Like, that's not cool. Don't be playing with people's feelings just to fuck them. Like, please, please. It's so unnecessary.
What if you say it accidentally during sex?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you say it accidentally, obviously that's a different thing. But planning in your head, oh, I'm going to say I love them, so then they'll sleep with me, is very different. Okay. Well, that concludes
Too far.
our stories for How Far Is Too Far. Thanks for playing, guys. Let us know if you enjoyed this segment and if there's any other kind of segments you want to see, or if you want us to bring any other segments that we've already done back. And yeah, we just want to do what you guys enjoy listening to, so we'd love to hear your feedback.
Yes, and thank you so much for your submissions. We love reading through
Yeah,
them.
it's so entertaining to us. This is why we started this podcast, because we want it to be interactive and we want to hear everyone's stories. Okay, so going back to the topic of the week, we asked you guys in a poll on Instagram whether you would be in a long distance relationship, and we had some very interesting results, didn't we, Maria?
Yes, we had pretty surprising results, I would say. Basically, the result, it was 50-50. But literally at the start of the poll, when the poll just went up, it was 100-0 for a while. And then it was like always on the definitely no.
Yeah, I kind of expected it to be definitely no.
Yeah, I thought that it would be at least a little bit of a majority no. Because I feel like
life is crazy.
Yeah.
You're just hit with all these unexpected moments. First the pandemic, now this poll.
How will we cope? Maybe we're kind of pessimistic though. Like, I feel like it's not that surprising.
Because okay, well let's unpack this then. Because I feel like you wouldn't say that you want to be in a long distance relationship unless you're in a situation where you're kind of just forced into one, you know, like no one's really sitting at home thinking, oh, you know what I'd really love? I'm gonna find someone like halfway across the world.
I feel like there are people like
but
that.
I can't see.
You know what? I feel like there are people like
maybe.
that. But, no, true. Well, this is what someone said. They said, I think it's easy to say you wouldn't until you're in love with someone who has to live far away from you, which I just think that, like, perfectly sums it up. I think that rings true to a lot of people. I think that there are people that are a definite no forever, but, like, I do think if you fall in love with someone and then it just so happens that you have to live far away, most of those times I'm sure you'll choose them, like if you love them enough, or not enough, because I don't think that not staying with someone because of long distance doesn't mean you don't love them enough, but I do think that people are willing to make bigger sacrifices for like something that's really great or whatever.
I kind of wouldn't go into a long distance relationship, I don't think, if I wasn't in love with them already. Like, I just don't see that as a... Like, how can you make it work? I just don't know how that would work. But to the people that do make it work, like, good job.
I mean, I think that if you... Like, what if you meet someone and you really like them? Like, I've been thinking about this. I'm just kind of like, what if I really liked someone and I just met them or whatever? Would I really go on this long distance relationship? I guess you can just give everything a go. Like, I don't know. I would give pretty much everything a go. But I don't particularly think it would work for me necessarily.
Yeah. Can't relate.
Wait, should we read some of the other things people said?
Yeah, okay. So, someone said, never again. Fair. I feel like you are kind of scarred if it doesn't work out. Like, it was just kind of a waste of time, maybe. Like, I would think that. But
Yeah.
I feel like you learn a lot. You learn a lot of valuable skills from a long distance relationship. Like, you learn a lot of trust and a lot of communication, but we're gonna get into that a bit later.
Yeah, someone sent us their like little long distance story. They said, I think long distance is so frowned upon and people are so scared of it, like I was too. I was initially against it, but then I realized it's my only option. COVID is the reason I'm in a long distance relationship since March. Then my partner got a job that requires traveling all the time. In contrast to what I thought it was going to be like, it's actually the best relationship I've ever been in, and the long distance part doesn't affect me that much. It makes it so much more exciting when we see each other. It makes phone calls and texts more meaningful. It just makes us value the relationship and any contact we have so much more. Long distance has also been great because we can surprise one another by turning up or flying in without letting them know, sending presents, etc. Hopefully I won't be in a long distance relationship forever, but these last few months have changed my perspective on it forever.
Nice.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah,
helpful.
I kind of like what she's saying, like, she won't be in a long distance relationship forever, because you don't go into a long distance relationship expecting it's going to be forever. And I think that's what people forget when they think about, or when they thought about the question that we asked. Like, it's not a long-term solution, hopefully. Like, hopefully it's just a temporary thing. And it's kind of a way of bridging the gap between those periods of when you can be together. So I think it's difficult, but like she said, you know, you have a lot of different ways of contact. It's just a different kind of relationship. It's not any less valuable, I don't think.
I think I like that she was basically saying that it makes it more valuable in a sense, like just the time they spend together, blah, blah, blah. But we're going to get into that too.
Yes. Someone else wrote, I was in one for almost 2 years. It was so toxic. All he really did was bring me down. I think long distance is more than achievable, but my ex was just an asshole. I kind of regret spending my first year of uni with such a prick, but you live and you learn, I guess. Yeah, I think this is quite a common issue that people have, is that when they go to uni, like, you've maybe been dating someone for like a year or a couple of years, and then all of a sudden you go to uni, and then it's like so new and it's so different having to deal with that new environment, and then also being in a long distance relationship. And I feel like that can cause a lot of problems, especially if your ex is an arsehole, which doesn't help, but yeah. I really feel for you. When I went to university, I was like, I just don't understand the people that can go to university with a boyfriend. And then I met like 3 people in the first week. They were like, yeah, I have my boyfriend. I still have a boyfriend. Like, he goes somewhere else. And I'm like, okay, well, why? Why are you doing this to yourself?
Yeah, it sounds kind of crazy to me. Like, I don't think, if even as a fresher, I wouldn't have wanted to date someone that was still in school, because you're just in a different stage of life. So I just feel like it would make this weird dynamic between us. I don't know. I just don't
Or even if you're not at school, like, if they're at another uni.
Yeah, no. But like, I'm saying for me, that's why I don't like dating people that are older or younger, because I don't like feeling like we're not in the same level. You know, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's not really about long distance. Sorry.
That's just something about Maria.
Yeah,
some more
just
fun
another
facts.
fun fact. I know you guys love the facts about me.
This whole podcast is actually just an excuse for us to just say our own fun facts. You know, we don't actually care about sex and relationships. We just want to talk about ourselves.
Someone else also said, I never was a fan of distance, but I met my current boyfriend and we just loved each other so much we made it work. At first we saw each other on weekends because I lived an hour and a half away. My boyfriend was deployed for 6.5 months. It was really hard at times, and we tried to FaceTime when we could. FaceTime sex and connection was honestly key, as weird as that sounds. Once he got back, we couldn't take the distance anymore, and we moved in together.
Oh, that's so cute.
So cute.
This makes me so happy that it was like successful, because, you know, like sometimes, because I'm in a long distance relationship, in case people don't already know this, And like sometimes I think it is easy to kind of get in your head and be like, oh, like it's not gonna work out, like this is all for nothing. Like what if he goes back there and decides he doesn't want to be with me, and then like I can't even say goodbye, you know, because we're so far away, blah blah blah. But like it's so nice to hear that they moved in together. Like it's a nice, happy, positive story. So
Yes.
I think it's nice to know for people that are in a long distance relationship that there is a positive end in sight.
On that note, honey, would you like to tell us your little story? Like, summarize your
Yes.
situ?
So, okay, so this is for our new listeners, but I did a study abroad in America last year in my second year of uni, and in my first week I met this boy. He was like, oh, let me show you around, blah 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 blah. And I had kind of witnessed what American dating culture was like by this point, even though it was a few days in, which blew my mind because all these people that I had literally met like 2 days before suddenly had boyfriends, and that's kind of what the dating culture is like. Like it's very intense, it's all very sudden, kind of on and off, you don't know what's happening. Like I just couldn't keep up. Maybe it was just the people that I was hanging out with, maybe it's not everyone in America, so I'm generalizing, and if I am, I'm sorry. But so I met this guy and he was like, yeah, let me show you around. And I was like, sure. I gave him my Snapchat and we were like texting and Snapchatting for a couple of weeks. But I was kind of like, I was busy and I was there for school and I had made all these new friends. So I kind of just, it wasn't my main priority. I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if this is something that I want to get into. But then I was like, oh, you know what? Might as well just see what happens, even if it's like nothing serious. At least maybe like I'll have a little bit of a shag, or like we'll be friends, you know, kind of would be nice. So I was like, yeah, fine. Went on a date with him, which is gonna be like nearly a year when this episode comes out, which is like,
oh my god,
crazy.
congratulations.
But yeah, so I think our first date was on like the 8th of October and this is coming out on the 6th. So
Everyone
crazy.
wish Honey a happy anniversary on the 8th of October,
Can't believe
guys.
that. Yeah, so then obviously after my 3 months was up, we had spent all this time together. Like after our first date, pretty much we spent all our time together and we told each other we loved each other and all this stuff. We were kind of very attached, like saw each other every single day, spent as much time as possible together. And then I had to leave and I literally cried the whole way home. I took a tincture of like weed oil before I got on the flight, and I took a melatonin, and I was like knocked out for the whole flight, but I still cried the whole way. And then as soon as I got off the plane, I cried when I was in the like cab with my mom. And then I cried for like 3 weeks. I was so sad. So then I was meant to go see him in March, but then guess what happened? COVID. So then it was 7 months without us seeing each other. He was also meant to come here in June, but then his flight got cancelled too. And then obviously I couldn't go there because Trump put the travel ban in place. So it was 7 months of not seeing each other, and that was just unlike anything else that like I don't think I'll ever have to experience that ever again. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I never have to experience that again, because I think that it really just aggravated a lot of things in our relationship. And we had only really known each other for like 2.5 months, so
Yeah.
it's not like we knew each other well enough to kind of negotiate communication in the best way. And I think all the components of our relationship were just really aggravated. The longer time went on, the harder it got, really. But then he came here in July finally for like 2.5 months, and he just left a week ago. And that was equally as difficult as the first time I had to say goodbye, like probably maybe harder. But that is my experience with long distance. He lives in LA, I live here. It's like 5,000 miles and an 8-hour time difference. And yeah, it actually does get easier. So I would say that that is a little tip that I have people. Anyway, that's my story. What about you?
Well, I don't know. I always, every time I have like a long distance relationship problem or like complaint, I feel really bad saying it because like it's so little in comparison to what you experience, and I feel like such a baby. But like, basically, my relationship is we met at uni, and he lives in Paris and I live in London when we're not at uni, and we go to uni in Bristol. So we met in first year and we were in the same hall, so basically lived in the same place, as in my room was like 10 steps from his room.
Short distance relationship.
Yeah, that was a pretty short distance relationship. But yeah, so we basically lived together off the bat, kind of vibes, as in we were always around each other. But then there was this whole thing of like, he lives in Paris, I live in London. So anytime that it wasn't term time, so any holidays, anything like that, he would go to Paris, I would go to London, and that's just like how it was. And it was never like huge periods of time or anything, because also in the summer, I mean, if you go to uni in the UK, you know, we have like a 4-month long summer. So like that would be a bit rough if I didn't see him for 4 months, like at the end of every school year. But we'd see each other in summer, obviously, because we are dating and we want to spend time with each other. So we try to make that happen. But like, the thing that I find hard is that we go from living together and spending every second together to not seeing each other for like a month time or 3 weeks time or a couple weeks time, which doesn't sound like that much, but it's like so extreme, because we do, the norm, quote unquote, is to be together. Then when he does go away, it's not like we're not talking every day, and like we don't treat it as though we're in a long distance relationship. It's just more of like, oh, this is like his time, and he's kind of getting on with his shit that he can't do when he's with me because it's in a different country. And then
yeah, because like that's his home as well.
Yeah, and I do understand it, and I really like, I don't want to invade on his space and stuff, and I want him to enjoy that time and like be able to do everything that he wants to do and see all the people that he doesn't get to see, because I get to see him all the time. But then again, it's really shit for me because I go from like so much to nothing, or like so little, in this like quote unquote long distance period. But then also we talked about this whole long distance thing, and he thinks that Paris London is not a long distance relationship. So
I mean, it is like the same distance from London to uni as it is from London to Paris, like the same time, not distance.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree there's so many elements that I will never, as in like we can easily see each other either way because it's not hard to get to Paris from London, and we don't have a time difference, like a huge time difference, so that doesn't affect us. So I would agree that like I'm not really in a long distance relationship at all. I just get those like bursts of long distance, so that's the only like stuff I can contribute really. And I can like say stuff that helps when we're not together, but like I wouldn't say I'm an expert.
But I would say that you are still in like a long distance relationship, because I kind of would categorize anything that isn't living together or like living in the same city as long distance, really. Especially with people who go to uni, like you're not really long distance, but you still can't see each other every day or even once a week. So I think that's kind of difficult.
Yeah.
Like when you're apart.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. Like if I was seeing him like every weekend, to me that's still like, that's a bit weird. Like why wouldn't I see him more? You know what I mean? So but to him, I think he's like, oh no, if you're seeing each other that regularly, like whatever, you know. But so we obviously differ. Our opinions differ.
Okay, yeah, so should we get into the cons of what we think the cons of a long distance relationship are first, because we wanted to end on like a positive note, so we'll say the cons first, and I feel like we'll probably be complaining for longer than saying the positives, because that's just kind of how it goes.
We can say the cons, and then like as we go we can give tips on how to make that con better, quote unquote.
Okay, so I feel like what you were saying is you do kind of go from all to nothing or nothing to all. So I think when you are together, for me, like it's only been one time where we've been back together in this whole like year-long period, but for me having to readjust and this is kind of an exception, but readjust to being with someone, going from being like your own independent individual person and living your own life to then you have to think about this other person suddenly there all the time. And it's just taking those big leaps. And like, I think I've said this before, but I am very much an introvert and I need a lot of alone time. So I feel like suddenly going from only having alone time to having none at all is a big adjustment for me.
Yeah. And also I think in terms of the whole like big leap, I feel like sometimes there's like so much pressure, like especially if you're only going to see each other for a couple days, like not really in your situation, but if it's that kind of long distance relationship that you do see each other every so often but only for a few days, I feel like those days like there can be a lot of pressure to like spend it all that time together. So then like I see how, like, let's say when your boyfriend goes on his phone and you only have a really limited amount of time and he won't get off his phone and you're like, oh, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that can create tension because there's so much pressure, even though like there shouldn't really be. But I feel like with communication and just sort of setting like realistic expectations for yourself and for another person, because you can't really like control what someone else is gonna do. So I think that sort of working on that and like can help.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I had to really do that this time when he came to visit, because I was like, okay, I am just gonna need some alone time because it's getting a bit intense, you know, like you're always there, you're always trying to get my attention, and can I just do this one thing without you interrupting me every 30 seconds, please? You know, and you just have to be able to communicate that. But to turn it into a pro, I do think you just get really good at communicating when you're in a long distance relationship, and you have to
100%.
be able to adapt to that kind of situation. So yeah, it's a good way to work on your communication skills. Do you want to say another con?
Well, you're not having sex and sort of keeping that side of the relationship sort of going requires a lot more effort than if they were just there and you could just have sex, you know?
Yeah, that's definitely a con, a massive con. Like I think you just have to put in so much more effort, and I think it can be a lot more draining, because I love sex, I love having sex, like I will never complain about having sex, but
won't you? You'll
having
complain
to then
about
transfer
everything.
that, I mean, yeah, true. But having to transfer that to, I mean, I could probably try find something to complain about if you want me to.
No, it's okay. Carry on.
Yeah, yesterday I was thinking, sorry, this is a tangent, but I was literally thinking, wow, I could literally just argue anything if I want to. Like, I can just complain. I just find something to say if I want to. Like, I impress myself every single time, you know? But anyway, so yeah, I think having to transfer that to online is just so draining. I don't find it, I think it's really not authentic. I find it really cringe. I just don't really like it. Not cringe, but like it just doesn't feel natural to me. And I feel like transferring it online is like a lot of, I don't know why I'm saying transfer it online like it's like uni courses or something, like but I don't know, just having to sext if that's something that you do, or send nudes if that's something that you do. And if those aren't things that you do, then I don't know what you do. Like, what do? You just trust that you love each other a lot. And I guess it kind of depends how big a part sex is in your relationship when you're in person as well. But for me and like my relationship, like it is kind of a big issue, I think.
Yeah.
Well, not issue, but it's just kind of sad.
Yeah, I feel like for me, it would be huge, because as in if we weren't seeing each other for prolonged periods of time, because to me, sex is like so fundamental in a relationship. Like, I feel like it's so difficult because, like, I know you don't like taking and sending nudes. I do, and like that's kind of the angle I would take, because I just I've never done it. I've never done phone sex. I've never done FaceTime sex, and like the thought of doing it makes me feel slightly sick, because it's so scary. I think to me it's so much scarier, and in a lot of ways you're a lot more vulnerable than if you're just having sex like in person.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I think it's a lot scarier, and you kind of have to put yourself out there a lot, and it's not like you're having like immediate response in, you are, because you're on FaceTime, but you can't like read the vibe. I don't know. And like,
yeah, like when you're having sex, you can like feel affirmation in like how someone's acting, and you can literally just physically feel them, whereas the medium of a phone is very impersonal and just kind of, you're just looking at a screen,
yeah,
you know. Like, what is that?
But
what does that mean?
Do you have any tips on making that easier, or like things that you found that you've liked or that have helped you or that you respond well to?
I think just not overthinking it is a big one. Like, you just have to, like, if you want to keep that side of your relationship alive, that is kind of your only alternative. And I think it's important to keep it alive, not even if you don't actively want to do it, because I think it just adds more excitement to your relationship. And like, not saying that this is something that I'm worried about, but in the 7 months where I wasn't having sex with my boyfriend, like, I was kind of like, well, what if he just decides he's not attracted to me, and like he sees all these other girls all the time and he wants to fuck them instead, you know?
Oh, I feel like, oh my god, I'd never thought of that.
I know that that's not even like a realistic thing. Like, I don't, because I have so much trust in him, and that's why I'm in a long distance relationship. I know that he wouldn't cheat on me. I mean, I know people whose boyfriends cheat on them say that too, but like, I just know, like, I'm a very intuitive person, and I think I would know straight away if that had happened. But it's more just putting it at ease in my own mind by being like, well, I'm actively doing something to like prevent this becoming an anxiety in my own mind, you know? So like, I want to keep it alive, and I want it to be like, he like is thinking about me and thinks that I'm attractive even when he's not seeing me, you know? Like, I don't want him to forget that I exist in either a sexual way or like a girlfriend kind of way. So it's just putting in that extra effort, even though it can be really draining. And I think if you are in a place like in COVID as well, sorry, I feel like I'm talking so much, but in COVID as well, like, I was really like not having a good time in terms of, I could, like, obviously no one could go out, but I was just not feeling like my sexiest. I wasn't feeling in the mood for that kind of thing. And I think if one person is really not feeling it, then you also have to be able to communicate that and be like, look, right now it's just not a good time and I'm just not in the mood. And I know a lot of couples that actually live together also felt this as well, like they just weren't feeling in the mood for sex. I think you just have to be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I think you get good at that.
I think that also, if you're kind of like me and you're a bit embarrassed to do like FaceTime sex or phone sex or things like that, but you're still open to some kind of like sexting in some way, or like sending photos or whatever, you can talk to your boyfriend or your girlfriend or whatever, and I'm sure you can come to some kind of middle where you're both comfortable and you're still sort of like Honey said, like you're able to sort of like be reassured that your significant other still finds you attractive, or like, and you can get sort of something from them as well.
I think that is also kind of a con, is like, if you have different love languages, then that can kind of be difficult, and I wouldn't recommend being in a long distance relationship if you go into it kind of knowing that you have different love languages, because like, I do think that me and my boyfriend actually do have different love languages, so I'm kind of just chatting shit, but like, I think he needs a lot more like physical touch, and I do really like physical touch and like affection, but I think quality time is my main love language, so I think that kind of makes it easier for me if he's putting in the time to like talk to me and like actually have a good conversation with me, whereas maybe with him it's not as easy. It's like, because he can't receive that in the same way, so then I have to make up for like that affection in other ways too.
Yeah, well, I feel like if talking and understanding each other a little more, like what you actually need, would be a huge help, because I feel like you can feel like you're giving them a lot of attention and like you're doing everything right, but it's not really the like what
Yeah,
they
it's not what they
respond to.
want.
Yeah, and I think also like in a sexual way as well, for like doing it in a long distance, like online kind of way. You should talk about like what will kind of like what you will
Yeah.
respond to, and not sort of be like imposing things.
Yeah, and kind of thinking
Um,
like, oh, this is what I would want, so this is what I'm gonna do to them. Because I feel like
mm,
that's more for your own peace of mind and knowing, oh, I'm doing something rather than actually doing it for the other person. And I think that's also a problem in in-person relationships, but especially in long-distance
yes.
relationships.
Yeah.
um, I was gonna say a problem I have is I feel like it's really hard if the only medium you have of talking to them is through a screen. You know, like it kind of just reduces them to this image rather than seeing them as all these, having all these different layers which you would see in person. And I think that also kind of comes with how you talk, like how often you talk and all of those kinds of
Mm-hmm.
things. But seeing them through a screen is kind of just difficult to put those two things together, you know?
I find like when my boyfriend's in Paris and when I haven't seen him for a while, I start to feel like he's
Yeah.
not real. And like that sounds like I'm absolutely insane and like I am mentally ill, but like I it start to feel like he is
Yeah.
like I made it up, and like he's not a real person that's out there in the world. And like
Yeah, yeah,
it's
no, I
just this.
completely get what you mean.
Yeah, and I think that also happens because sometimes your lives can be so separate, and
Yeah.
since you're not like interlinked in that, like you don't know the people, like, do you know what I mean? I don't know, it can make it a lot more difficult.
Because you are just talking to them through a screen, so it's not like you're seeing their whole lives or like witnessing their whole lives. Like you're literally just seeing these snippets. So then understanding what else is going on in their life, and maybe if they're in a bad mood, you don't really understand it as much because you haven't experienced it with them in the way that you
Yeah.
would when you're in person. I think that means that things get lost in translation a lot, and you just kind of don't really think about, like, I feel like when you're in person in a relationship, you really are in the mindset of like, okay, everything that I do is kind of, well, at least if you're a good boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, like if you're a good partner, this is how you think, like things that I do are gonna affect my partner, like that's just how it is. I'm in a relationship, that's what a relationship is. It's like two individuals coming together, so things that I do will naturally have an impact. Whereas I don't think it's necessarily the same because they're not there. They're not a physical presence to remind you of that. It's, yeah, again, the screen thing.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
so
for sure.
reductive.
I think also I just thought of something that I think helps me in this whole like your lives are so separate. I think that's why I just like really want to get to know that side that I don't get to witness like in
Yeah,
person. Do you know what I mean? So I feel more involved.
I really like overcompensate because I want to feel involved and I don't want to feel left out. But then I kind of internalize it in my own mind of like, am I being like a psycho? Like maybe I'm being a psycho. But it's because I've never met any of his friends and I'm like, who is this person? Like you've literally never told me about them. Why have I never heard about them till now, you know? So I think it gets kind of difficult, like hearing that they're spending all this time with all these random people that you've never heard of, because in your mind you're like, oh, well, I've never heard of these people. Why are you spending time with them? But you forget that they had a life before you and they had all these other people in their life that you would never have heard of if you haven't met them, because you don't exist in the same like sphere as they do, or the same sphere that they've grown up in. And I think that can be kind of difficult. And I kind of felt for my boyfriend as well when he came here, because it kind of must have been really difficult to have to come into like this completely alien environment and like meet my family and meet all my friends. And I'm gonna have to do that too when I can actually travel to America, and I'm kind of dreading it because I'm like, oh fuck,
Yeah.
how am I gonna deal with that?
But also I think it comes down to the kind of person you are, because I think that all of these things are like, yeah, it can be seen as a con, but also if you're a really independent person and you sort of enjoy this sort of like compartmentalization of your relationship and your friendships and all of these things, then I feel like it could work really well for you. And I think
Yeah.
if you're both that kind of person, it could work really well, because I think my boyfriend is kind of like that. Like I don't think he cares so much about these kinds of things. Like, I don't think he finds it that difficult.
Yeah.
And I do. So then it's really hard to meet somewhere in the middle that isn't like making someone a little bit miserable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it is about the kind of people you are and sort of how you interact together and like sort of how you prioritize things. And I think that's a conversation that you need to have, because I think that long distance relationships can definitely work and can definitely be really great, and I think would really suit some kinds of people. I just don't think that it would suit me.
Yeah. And I think like that is a big thing that I've been really thinking about recently, because I think for me, when I came back to the UK and when he came to the UK, like both scenarios I had to kind of readjust, and I think I was really deeping the fact that I wasn't really quickly adjusting to all these things, like, oh, I really miss him, and oh, I don't understand his life because I'm not involved, and oh, everything seems really intense now that he's here because now I have no alone time. But I kind of didn't really just let myself feel those things. Like, I just overwhelmed myself with all these feelings, and I think that is kind of difficult for other people who aren't in long distance relationships to understand, like why it kind of seemed like it was really negative at first, because it was just such an extreme change for me. But looking back on it, I'm kind of like, oh, well, I do think it was just me readjusting, and I have a more positive outlook on it now, I think. And I think you just have to allow yourself to feel those things in a long distance relationship, but then also not immediately voice those things, because that's just a recipe for arguments. So wouldn't recommend. Like, just let yourself feel it and recognize those feelings before you kind of jump to the conclusion that everything's going wrong and like I wasted my time, you know.
Yeah. Do you have any other cons, or should we try to list some pros?
The last thing I was just gonna say is, like, it can be really expensive.
Oh yeah.
Like, depending how often you travel, how far you have to travel. I mean, I know flights from the UK to America are extortionate, and my boyfriend is really finding that out now. I'm kind of not that pleased about it, but yeah, I would say that is a big problem. So maybe long distance relationships aren't really that accessible to everyone, and to everyone who can't afford to visit their significant other like often, and you have to deal with that. Like, I feel for you so much, because now I've dealt with that and I really don't ever want to have to do that again. So yeah.
Also, like, so much time. Like, imagine you live so far away, all those flights, you know.
Yeah, so much
another
time.
thing for time, actually, Hannah, I wanted to ask if you can sort of talk about time difference and like how it, whether that's like super shit or like whether there's any benefits to it, and like how you go around like making it better or whatever.
Yeah, okay, well, I'll start with the benefits. Like, the one benefit I can really think of is it kind of does mean that I do have my, like, alone time, and, like, I have my independence in the times of the day where, like, he's asleep, which is kind of sad. Like, I want to be able to talk to him, but it means, like, I can kind of get my day started without, like, having to think about calling, and like we kind of have a routine in place for when we call. So I feel like that is a good tip to have.
Oh yeah, can
So
you give some advice? Oh yeah,
times. Like, just don't
set time.
Don't like wait for someone to call you. Like, kind of say when you're going to be free. Like, the times that I get annoyed about it is if he doesn't tell me like he can't talk at the time that we usually talk, or he doesn't tell me, oh, I'm not going to be free at this point, so can we call earlier, you know. Like, I just need that communication, so then I'm not like waiting around all day to talk to him, and like waiting up hours and hours at night before I can talk to him, you know.
Yeah, 100%. I would say how I sort of do this is like, before I know we're gonna be apart, I like to have a conversation about how much communication we're gonna expect from each other, because I feel like if you don't talk about it at all, one person could be like, oh, I want to talk every day on the phone all day, and then the other person is more thinking like, oh, I'll call you every few days, and then that can cause a lot of like arguments and disappointment and like shit. So I think if you just talk about it before, You sort of
Yeah, for sure.
meet in the middle. Like, let's say one person's like, I want to call twice a day every day, and then the other one's like, oh, I don't know about that, like, I'm busy, blah blah blah. Then just be like, okay, fine, should we just aim to talk every other day? It doesn't matter if we can't text, if we can't, like, I don't know, set like those boundaries of like what lines can be crossed, as in like, can
Yeah.
you just miss a call and then, like, do you know what I mean? Like, just set those boundaries and like quote unquote rules, but it's not really rules, it's just like what you expect from the other person
Yeah.
while in terms of talking and like how much you're gonna talk anyway. But carry on.
Yeah, because I think like at the start, me and my boyfriend, we both said we kind of want to talk every day, and we both were agreeing on that side of things. But then obviously as time goes on, you kind of realize, oh, we both have our own lives, we have a lot going on. So then there are just some days where you can't talk, you know. And I feel like not getting super annoyed about that is also important. Like, you just kind of have to realize it's not something that has to happen every day. It's nice to have that, but you know, if it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. But I think that's a good segue in that a very positive thing about long distance relationships is that you really learn to value the other person's time and individuality and independence, and you value the time that you spend with them, that you actually get to spend with them in person a lot more. Like, I think there's value in not seeing someone all the time and like missing them.
Yeah, for sure. I think you sort of learn in missing someone, you kind of like learn how much you actually care about them and like how much you actually just like spending time with them and all of those
and I think
things.
you learn a lot about yourself and about the other person too. Like, it is more just two individuals coming together rather than this petri dish for codependence to like breed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think for me it's good to have like these times apart, and like now that we're not going to live together, so it's not like even going to be that huge stark difference every time, and we're not in each other's space anymore. Like, it's really good for people that have like codependency tendencies.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is me, so it helps me.
Yeah. And I think you get to know them in a different way too. Like, you don't just know them as they are every day. Like, you kind of get used to how someone is in their day-to-day life. You kind of get to know what they're like over the phone, you know, how good they are verbal communication, outside of non-verbal communication, face-to-face. I think you learn to have good conversations over the phone, and then you can transfer that to in person as well. Like, it's not just that lust and like physical affection. You kind of have to make up for it in other ways.
I also think that it makes you better at having friends, and like as in it makes you better at offloading your problems to other people and like kind of dispersing your time and managing your time with other people, and not just like having that one person that you offload everything onto.
Yeah, you really like realize how many people you have around you, and then that kind of just enriches everything about the relationship as well, that you kind of get to introduce your significant other to all these other people too when they come, and it's kind of all these really authentic relationships like coming together.
Yeah, I have a question. Do you have any advice for like people that have issues with trust? Because I feel like we don't really have trust issues, but what if you are like put in a situation where you have to be long distance and you are a little bit more like wary with trust and you're jealous?
I would really warn against getting into a long distance relationship if you know that you have issues with trust, because I don't want for someone to get into a relationship and have all these unanswered questions in their mind about what the other person's life is like and what the other person is doing all the time, because I feel like that just really aggravates it. And even for someone who like has anxiety about certain things, I can find that really difficult, and I get all these like intrusive thoughts sometimes, like oh, he's cheating on me. But then I just have to like, I'm like, no, he's not. Like, that's just my mind playing games on me, and I just have to push it out of the way. But I think if you really do have issues with trusting someone, firstly, you should really look at why you're in that relationship in the first place, and maybe don't put all that distance between you, because I think
it's only gonna make it worse. Yeah,
like not being involved in their life, even if it's in the slightest ways. Like, you don't know what they're doing at certain times of the day, or like they don't reply to you at a time that they would usually reply to you. Like, I think that can just really cause a lot of problems, and it's not pleasant for either person. It's not pleasant to argue over the phone. It's just not.
Yeah.
It gets way out of hand, like way further out of hand than it should have to and needs to. So yeah,
I think know yourself and be realistic about what you can handle, and sometimes love just isn't enough, and that doesn't mean that you did that, like that love wasn't real and that you don't love that person a lot, but sometimes it just isn't enough. And if it's really making you kind of miserable, then sometimes I think you have to understand that you have to let it go. And obviously it's so much easier said than done, and I haven't been in that position, but I give you all strength to let it go, guys.
Yeah, and trust isn't just something extra that's added to the relationship. It's an integral part of making a relationship work. So you kind of need to work on that before you can then put distance between you.
Yeah,
I would say. Any more positives? Oh, you have really good sex when you see them.
Oh yeah,
like that sex is on another level.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like, is it really even that much of a pro? Because it's just kind of like balancing the fact that you haven't had sex for months.
Yeah, true. But it's still good. It's still just so good.
Yeah, true. The best sex is like when we haven't seen each other in a while, and then we literally just have sex like all day. It's so fun.
Yeah. And the last thing that I wanted to say is that, like, I feel like when you've been in a long distance relationship, you really feel like you can just get through anything. Like, you can solve that shit over the phone. Like, you will get there eventually. You can solve whatever you want. So anything that happens in person, like, you can get through it, baby.
You're invincible, baby.
Yeah, you're good to go. You're bonded in a really different way, I think. Like, it's just a weird way. It's a different way, but it doesn't make any less valuable. And I think to all the people who said no in the poll, like, yeah, obviously I completely get you. I never would have thought I would be in a long distance relationship, but if the situation arises where you kind of have to be in one, don't completely write it off, because I think you can make it work, and it's kind of rewarding as well to like know that you can do it, and you know, like, you can get through stuff by yourself and you can help someone get through it in a relationship over the phone, or like however you get through it in a long distance relationship. So I think it's cute, and everyone in one, like, I feel you, baby. I really feel for you. It's so difficult sometimes, but you know, there are also very good moments too, so just like any normal relationship.
Yes. Well, to anyone in a long distance relationship, I wish you the best of luck, and I'm really excited for you guys to see each other.
Yes, me too. I really hope that you guys listen to this and maybe think a little bit differently about long distance relationships, or you're in a long distance relationship already and you listen to this and you're like, oh, thank God it's not just me. Like, I feel so seen, and yeah, you just feel like, oh, it's not just me, and you're happy that we feel the same. So yeah, but as always, thank you for listening. We hope we will see you next week. You can follow us on Instagram. In the meantime, we post illustrations for every episode on Instagram, and we also post all the information for our segments, a little bit of behind the scenes, a little bit of teasing for the next episode, everything you could possibly want. Or you can follow our Facebook page. You can email us, sextresspodcast@gmail.com, and please subscribe. Leave us a review. Let us know what you think. You can also DM us or email us if you have any feedback or things that you want to see. And yeah, we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye. Bye.
You've been listening to Sextras, presented by Honey Jane Wyatt and Maria Jose Hayodatiyi. Produced by Mabel Productions.